Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this edition of Weekend Wrap Up here on Shelbyville Now. Josh Blevins, David Thomas. We're here to give you the news that matters. And Josh, you've had a few things happen this week that we need to talk
We've had
about.
a little bit go on this week. Not so much government meetings this week. Actually, more stuff in the private sector, but we'll get all into it here in just a few minutes.
Yeah, let's hear a word from our sponsor, Dennis Young Insurance, and we'll be right back.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All righty, Josh, you've got a few things you want to talk about today. Starting with Tuesday, why don't you dive in and tell us the events of the week and what's happened?
Events of the week, what went on. Tuesday evening, 5 o'clock, we had what was called the Bedford Business Expo. So
Okay.
This was the first time ever for this event. It was put on by the Chamber of Commerce. They had a bunch of local small businesses come in, set up a table, and for $5 you get to go in and mingle and meet. And they had free meatloaf and stuff from the Bell Buckle Cafe.
All right.
And they were giving away candy. I got this nifty Cooper Steel hat.
Cool.
So, all not bad for $5.
How'd you get that? Did you win it?
No, that one was
just
just a giveaway.
Wow,
So, yeah, that was a
awesome.
giveaway. I also, though, did win a door prize for, I talked to enough people that they put your name in a little drawing, and they drew my name for the door prize. So, as part of winning my door prize, Mr. Shane Hooper was there from the Shelbyville Bedford Partnership, and I said, "Hey Shane, let's get a picture together." So we got our picture taken together, and I showed that picture around to a couple people at some meetings later in the week, and I got some interesting comments that I just want to discuss with you. And a couple of people said, "Man, how could you get your picture taken with him?" And then I posted it online on just a little reel I did on Facebook. I actually got a phone call. Somebody said, "You're going to lose votes. You got your picture taken with Shane."
Oh,
And
wow.
I said, "No." I said, "That's crazy." I said, "What has gone on in politics that we are so polarized that we cannot even talk to somebody that we may not be on the same side of on every argument?" I mean, I don't know. You've lived a few years longer than me, but I don't know that I've ever been at a period in time where from the national level down to the local level, we are so polarized that we set ourselves out in camps and we hang out with, quote unquote, our own kind, and we just sit there and lob grenades back and forth.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with going out and hanging out with somebody that you don't, necessarily agree with on all the issues. Sometimes if you just sit down and have some coffee and talk things out, you might come to some common ground. I know it's crazy.
I know.
So it's a crazy
You will find
concept.
out how much we do have in common when you do that. You take the time.
Right.
And I think people do put fences up.
They do. They really separate themselves off. Last week, we talked about it a little bit. I went and met with the Bedford County Listing Project. And man, they're as far left, as any organization here in town. But we've got some common ground. I mean, we both care about what's going on with renters and stuff like that. They have different solutions that I wouldn't agree with, but we can still sit down and talk and, talk things out. And I think, and we'll get into some issues later on that we'll talk about today where we're, this whole firing letters back and forth between the county and the city. Yeah. You're right across the street from each other. Could somebody not walk in and knock on somebody's office door and say, "Hey, can we sit down and talk for 5 or 10 minutes?" So
well, that's how things get worked out.
Right.
And when you don't tear those walls down and sit and talk, it creates a bigger divide, I think.
Yeah.
And that,
when
I
you
think,
end up with lawsuits between cities and counties and lawyers making a bunch of money.
I want to ask you your opinion on this. You mentioned that it is from the federal level to the local level.
Yeah.
Do you think it started at the local level and went up? I think it started at the top and it's come down.
It feels like it's come down from the federal politics. I mean, I don't know how many years you would calculate it, but I mean, right now it's just crazy how far apart the two parties are at the federal level. And you can say something to one group, federal politics wise, and they look at you like you're crazy, but you talk to your own group of people that you hang out with and they think, you're perfectly sane.
Right.
So it's totally, left and right are as far apart as I've ever seen them. So
I think for the most part, 90% of people out there want what's best for our community, our state, our nation. It's the 10% that are on the fringe,
Right.
okay, that create the havoc, and honestly, they throw fuel on that separation that we
Right.
have and
Yeah.
the divide, and keeps us from coming together.
Yeah.
And just on a local level, I think everybody that's voiced concerns about anything. I mean, we talked about growth on this show several times. We've talked about issues that we have to deal with. Everybody wants the same thing. We all come from different vantage points, and those vantage points have value. All the vantage points do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I don't think Shane Hooper's never going to endorse me as a candidate, but I have no problem sitting down and talking with him over a coffee. And we talked for a few minutes at that meeting, and it was great. And, we both, I think, at the end of the day, I think we both want a lot of the same things for the community as far as growth and improving things and whatnot.
There's no doubt.
We may have different paths to get there.
Right.
But that's no reason that we need to lock ourselves into separate rooms and not talk to each other and throw letters or stuff back and forth. So, at that same meeting, something that we had actually announced earlier in the day, I had the opportunity to meet the owner of the new Music City Kartplex, which we had come across that it was coming in a real estate transaction back in July. We weren't sure exactly what was coming until they put some more information online that we announced on Tuesday. But that's going to be, it looks like a good thing for the community. That's the old Twin Fountains, I believe.
Old Twin Fountains, yeah.
Yep. It was bought by a gentleman down in Nashville that was in the music industry. He is currently repaving the existing track and hoping to open next month it's a half-mile track. He's brought in 33 Italian racing go-karts. And apparently these things go like 55 miles an hour. So these are not, your little kiddie indoor karts. These are serious go-karts. And you're going to be able to go out there and rent the karts. I believe they'll have a little bit of some racing going on. And then long term, he also bought the parcel in front of Twin Fountains that's right up against 231. Right. He's adding a second 0.9 of a mile track. So just so he has more track space, and then also a restaurant and some other things. So he's got big plans for that space. And he said he's done a ton of research. These type of venues are scattered around the U.S. and they draw from a big area. This could be where we talked about those tourism numbers before. This would be one of those day tourism kind of things where somebody may drive 75 or 100 miles and come in and do this for the day and go home. So this would be good, from a sales tax standpoint, from bringing more people into town.
I could see people from Rutherford County just flooding this
place.
Easily,
yeah.
Because it's such a quick drive.
But you could get, Nashville, north of Nashville. There's nothing
around here
this.
Too. Yeah. Tullahoma, Coffee County, Marshall County, even Williamson. It's a good central location.
Yeah, it's a good location. And he said one of the nice parts about 231 is, you just get off the interstate in Murfreesboro, and he's right there on 231. You don't have to go a bunch of back roads and give a bunch of weird directions on how to get there. It's real easy to get to. So that's exciting. And then the same day, just wanted to point out, we also helped announce a venue called the Shelbyville Skate and Entertainment Center.
Right.
I just want to point out, even though we did post the announcement, we know nothing about that place yet, not even a location. And not to say that it's not happening or anything, but they've already started collecting sponsor money, and I would just be careful until I had a location and what was going on before I got too involved. That honestly, the skating rink, when I've been out in the public this week, is the one most people have come up to me and have been excited about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've had people like, I remember when we had a skating rink, and I had one lady, she said, my parents used to drop me off there at 6:00 at night and leave me with, like $20. Yeah. They come back, pick me up at 10 and stuff. So, and I think that'll be a great thing, but just, I'd be cautious until we don't
know all the details.
It's literally just a Facebook page right now.
Okay. So the plans have not been unveiled. Hopefully we'll hear real soon what's going on.
Should be. They've said on the Facebook page that they may announce a venue as early as this weekend.
Okay.
But I would just be cautious with anything on the internet.
Yeah.
I don't send hundreds of dollars to somebody over the internet that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
It's just a little note of caution there. So same evening, Tuesday night, was the county commission meeting, which I'm glad I went to the Bedford Business Expo, because the county commission meeting, as expected, nothing happened. So
not much going on county-wise.
Not much going on. I had bet it would last under 5 minutes. They managed to drag it out to 8 minutes doing a bunch of announcements.
Wow.
All I did. So
all right. So interesting.
They approved the notaries for the month, and that was it. That was all they had going on. So I guess maybe next month we'll get more excitement. So, Wednesday after Wednesday, I have breakfast at Pope's, and I was leaving Pope's on Wednesday morning. Met an interesting gentleman just walking down the sidewalk out of the blue. Name was Bill Whitpen, and he and I talked for, I don't know, half an hour or more. He also introduced me to another gentleman named Aaron White, and they work for a organization called the Center for Family Development, which I had seen the sign there. It's the old Norton Law Building,
Right.
Right across the courtyard from Pope's. And they started to give me some information that they later announced Thursday morning, which is that they're fixing up that courtyard between their building and Pope's. And they were able to get a $50,000 grant from T-Mobile to actually do the work.
Right.
So they're going to fix some drainage in there. They're going to come in and make it nice and make it into more of a nice park. It's already, not a bad space, but it just was kind of overgrown and need a little love. So T-Mobile, they applied for the grant, and T-Mobile said, sure, this seems like a good idea. So some of the comments we got when we posted about it seemed to act like they thought there was some kind of government involved.
It's nothing to do with it.
This is all
Right.
private. This is T-Mobile's money. This is not government money. It's not a government grant. There's
Right.
no government, anything involved in this. The property itself is owned by, it's unclear who it's owned by. There's a name on the deed of the property right now. I've heard a different name that owned it. Honestly, it really doesn't matter because it's T-Mobile's money, so
Right.
they can do with it what they want to. They've put in some safeguards so that hopefully nothing goes awry. And everything I see about the Center for Family Development is a really good organization. They're helping with the
Right.
MRT program in the jail. They're doing a bunch of stuff locally here.
So honestly, this is not a public concern because this is a private business given to a private owner owned spot.
And when it's all said and done, we're going to have a nicer park next to Pope's.
The thing that makes it public is it's going to beautify our square a little more.
It's going to beautify the square a little more.
Yeah,
So
and it's coming from private money, and our government tax money is not paying for it.
Government had nothing to do with it.
I like it, Josh. I like it.
It didn't cost us a dime, so let's appreciate it.
No government involved. That's a good thing.
No government is a good thing. So yeah. But other than that, Wednesday. Also, it was Thursday morning. I went to the business networking for the Now, which that's where they actually announced the grant. And just a shout out to that particular group. They meet the whatever Thursday that was of the month. Every month they meet the second Thursday of the month at a different place around town, and different business people get together. They did a little like a video podcast with the gentleman from the Constitution Study. So,
Paul.
Paul Ingalls. So no, that was a good event. And if you have a small business in town and want to get out to that, just look on Facebook. There's lots of information. Also wanted to just mention real quickly, Wednesday, as I was leaving the square, I got a chance to stop by. We had a nice 9/11 display there off the square. I went over to in front of Goodwill. All of our emergency services had set up their vehicles with a nice display. They were actually having a little kind of a prayer service over in front of the fire department, and it was just good to see. It was both county and city services. They all got together and had a little event. And it was good to see, at least at one level of the county and city government, everybody coming together for.
It's hard to believe that's 23 years ago.
I know it's crazy. So I mean, and they were talking about they had an event at one of the high schools. You go into the high school, none of those kids were alive when this happened. So
you were a young man back then
I was
too.
Young. I was young then. So but it doesn't seem like it was that far back. It seems like yesterday. A lot more recent. So Thursday. We had, in the Times Gazette, as I read both of our newspapers, we had an article from our friends at a Better Bedford PAC. So this is their third article they've run in the local newspapers. This time, they actually put their name on it. The one before did not have, it wasn't cited. This one they did. And I sent it to a few people that I'm, deal with on a regular basis in politics. I got a note back for one. I'm going to read it real quick because I liked it. We will not name this particular person, but they are in local politics. They read the article and said, let me reinterpret the article for you. He said, this is my understanding of what they said. We're the establishment, and in the past 2 years, there have been some folks who have courageously stood against us, and we will not tolerate this type of behavior against our well-established system. So I thought that was
here, Josh. Let's go back to your first polarization in politics thing.
Yeah.
This is where this feels like an attack. So now here we're going to start dividing again.
Right.
With this, and
this
what I'm saying.
This is kind of what's going on here. It was, Yeah, the actual article itself was, I mean, it was fine. It was kind of vague. It was, honesty, integrity, visionary leadership. I mean, anybody can support
All the
any of
things
that.
we like to hear.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
just all positive things. But from my standpoint, where just me, little old me, who's running for a tiny office, that means a whole lot of nothing. I mean, for me, I think we need more servants, not leaders. We need people that are representing people down. We don't need top-down government.
Right. We need bottom up.
Bottom up. It needs to be coming from the bottom. It needs to be coming from we the people. We don't need a bunch of leaders leading, a bunch of wolves leading the sheep around and telling them what to do.
Yeah.
We need the little people down. We need people that are listening to the people that are out living in the houses, paying the property taxes, not, 2 or 3 or 4 or 10 people, working the puppet strings, trying to control everybody down below. So it's.
Well, I would hope that that's what they desire, but it's a little vague, so you don't really know.
So we didn't know. So, but from my standpoint, government and organizations, that's not what's going to bring prosperity here to the city. The government is not going to come and save us.
No.
If government's the solution to the problem, you've got a problem. So
Right.
government's never the solution. I think it's individual hard work, it's perseverance, it's the little guy out there working the extra hours. That's what's going to bring us success here. It's the guy that decides to come in and open a go-kart track here in Shelbyville. He's going to do it, not the government.
The guy that does not feel oppression from the government has
Right.
hope.
Yeah.
Those people are the ones that step out and
They
actually
step out
are
and
the
do
leaders.
something. Yeah. I think limited government, is what we're looking for.
Yeah.
We're looking for minimal taxes. Those kind of core values are the things that we're hoping for and striving for, not, the government's going to come in and save my life.
Government needs to make sure our roads are good, make sure our schools are operated correctly, make sure that our infrastructure is maintained.
Public safety.
Polish things up. Give us an environment where the leaders can step out and do what they're going to do.
Right. And then get out of the way.
Exactly. Outside of that,
Yeah.
back off. Let us live. Let us do our
Yeah.
thing. And I think that's what conservative principles are all about.
Right.
And that's kind of where I fall.
Yeah, exactly. And me as well. So that's what we're hoping for. And that wasn't exactly what we got out of that article, but hopefully
It might
that's
be
what they're
there.
going for.
Maybe as they move forward, we see that this is their goal
Right.
too.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just kind of unknown.
Yeah, it was kind of vague. So that's all I'm saying is it just felt vague. So Thursday, same day, we had our one and only government meeting of the week that had any substance, which was the city council meeting where they actually did a few things. Interesting note, they barely got a quorum. They almost did nothing because shout out to our mayor who's under the weather. Hopefully he's feeling a little better now, but he wasn't feeling good. We had 2 council members out of town on business. So we had the bare minimum, which was 4 people showed up. And they conducted what business they could, which was they approved the Lexington Cove PUD unanimously. They denied the 2 big rezoning issues that we've been discussing. Barksdale Lane, where they were trying to go to an R4. It had 3 negative strikes against it based on what planning looks at. Off Whitthorne, yeah. And they 2 people actually came and spoke against it at this meeting. It had been a while since there had been any public comments. And you had one direct neighbor who he'd spoken to planning before, and obviously he was really upset that he'd bought a nice house in a single-family neighborhood and was about to get Airbnbs in his backyard. And then you had another lady that spoke out on the fact that Barksdale Lane is just a mess right now. I mean, you got the weird S-curve, the pavement's falling apart, you got no sidewalks. I mean, do you really want to add 52 units, which she said was a bad idea, and I agree with. So. And at the end of the, finally, there was a lot of discussion, but in the end, all 4 people that were there, all 4 council members voted against that. Same thing on Morton Street. They didn't even really discuss that one, but that had issues as far as they were bringing townhomes directly adjacent to the Lexington Cove townhomes, which would have been a weird traffic issue. It was already a bad intersection coming out of the new PUD they were about to build, and it was just going to make things worse. So that was an immediate no. The one thing that brought up a little more discussion that honestly I didn't expect, and even a no vote, was the discussion on sending a letter to the county commission asking for help with the soccer park grant. As we
let me ask you something. Are we just going to waste paper? Is that what this is about?
Back to polarization. Why are we mailing letters from the building right here on the square to the building across the street? because it's got to go back to the post office at least in Shelbyville, doesn't it?
Why
And then
not?
it's got to come back into the.
Why don't the Shelbyville mayor go sit down with the county mayor?
Or could you just save the stamp and carry it over at
or
least?
pick up the phone? We're at a point where that can't happen, Josh.
And that's back to that polarization. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, why are we mailing letters across the street back and forth to each other? So somebody needs to sit down and talk to somebody.
I mean, they could just yell out the window, really.
They could yell at. They may accidentally bump into each other going out to their cars to leave for the day or something. So,
okay, it's humorous, but it's kind of sad at the same time.
It's sad, and in this case, we've got a $2.5 million grant sitting there waiting. They've got 90 days to get their act together, or the state is at some point going to come back and say,
I got a little hint, Josh.
Yeah,
forget it. 90 days, if you're going to wait 90 days to get an answer on this, the answer is going to be no, probably.
Right. Well, the 90 days is not even on alert. That's about how long the state's going to give us to get our act together. They're going to pull the money.
Oh, okay.
So we got to get our act together, and it involves more than just sending a letter back and forth. Now, they did mention during the meeting that they are trying to talk to corporations, trying to talk to people in town. But I got to tell you, if I'm running whatever company in town looking to make a donation, I look at this mess between the city and the county right now. Do I want to put dollars into it?
That'd be tough.
Yeah, it's a tough.
Plus, there's no set real plan put in place to what happens with this money.
Okay, now that's another thing. There was a post. I won't say where the post came from. There's a post online you'll see that was fairly well shared yesterday or the day before, talking about if we got the $5 million, that was enough to build the 6 soccer fields, the parking lot, this and that. That specific question was asked at the city council meeting by Marilyn Ewing. She asked our parks director, hey, if we get this $5 million, is that enough to do what we need? And he very specifically said he doesn't know yet. They're having meetings starting this week with the engineer, with the state, because when they originally drew things up, this was a $14 million project.
Right.
So 14 down to 5 is a big drop down. So the question is 5 even enough to get us the soccer fields? And I know nothing about soccer fields and this and that, or then it seems like a big flat piece of grass. It seems like $5 million will buy a lot of flat pieces of grass.
But we already own the property.
We already own the property. So the question really is, even if we get our act together, get the $5 million, does that get us far enough along to get a soccer park open or not? We don't know that yet.
Okay.
And the parks director even said he doesn't know that yet. So we
a lot of question marks.
A lot of question marks, and again, about a 90-ish day deadline hanging over our head before the state just comes in and says, "You yahoos don't know what you're doing," and we're just moving on to another city.
That's
troubling. So
I want to jump in here real quick and say I just know Steve Jordan's with us today, making some comments. Thanks, Steve, for being here. When we get into the show here, a lot of times I don't have them up on the screen, but our chat is live. So if people would, I'll do a better job and try to monitor this. But he's talking about possibly a town hall, and he's got a Facebook page, Concerned Citizens of Bedford County Facebook group. Mm-hmm. He's encouraging everybody to join that. And also Chuck Haviland just said good morning. I just wanted to acknowledge that those guys are out there. Because a lot of times I'm on a different screen and I don't see them. So
and if you see me looking at my computer, I have no chat on mine. All I got are my notes. So if you think I'm reading your chat and ignoring you, I'm not. I got nothing on my screen.
We'll try to do a better job. I'll try to do a better job of that.
Yeah. At the same meeting, because we had only 4 people there were 2 items that were up for possible discussion. They just pushed them off, which was the piece of property next to the senior center. They just deferred that. And the camera system that may or may not cost $92,000 in the council chambers. They're like, we're not going to vote on a $92,000 camera system with only 4 people sitting there. So they punted on all that. Airport leases, they approved. Those were kind of non-controversial. And then the de-annexation request for the property on Jennings Lane that had been brought into city because they were going to develop it. They've since decided not to develop it because they couldn't get the density they wanted. That was sent back to planning, and that's the standard process for any annexation or de-annexation. Is it first comes to city council for this was just a rough, high-level look at it just to say, hey, we're okay with considering this or not, because there's no point in wasting planning's time. If city council looked at it and said, 0 chance of us approving this, they could have just killed it there, but they didn't. They just sent it to planning, so that's going on. And while we're talking about planning, just real quick, because we're actually at the end of what happened during the week, Just a total side note. I was online last night reading a couple of people that I follow live in Smyrna, and they had posted some endorsements of some people running for city council in Smyrna. So I went on, and because I'm in the city council race, just read what's going on in Smyrna and Smyrna politics. What do you think the biggest issue was on every single city council person that I went on and read? And they've got a lot running there. I don't know how big their council is. What do you think they were all talking about?
Growth of population.
Growth and density. It's like, it's not just here.
No, it's everywhere.
It's everywhere, particularly in Middle Tennessee. I don't know if it's nationwide, but every single candidate was trying to lay out, how can we slow down these out-of-town developers that are coming in here bringing way too high density stuff that the locals are not happy with. So it's not a Shelbyville issue. It's also in Smyrna, and I would bet it's all over Middle Tennessee. So.
Well, one thing about that density situation, we brought this up last week, and it's still in play. I know that the tropical storm coming up was supposed to bring us some rain, which we've got very little here in Bedford County. It stayed to the west of us, and that eased everybody's mind up about the water problem. But we've had water warnings, and all along the Duck River, other cities are warning that there is a shortage because of this dry time that we've had for the past month.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a concern when we continue to suck water out of it for this rapid development. That's something we have to manage. And you brought that up.
Yeah.
We've got to do a job of managing. That's what this is about. It's not about saying no to everything.
Right.
It's about slowing it down so you can get your feet under you and establish some parameters that's going to manage it for the next few years, because it can't happen all at once. It's got to be staggered out.
Right. Well, and that's one of the selling points in some of these big developments. When the developers come and they talk to planning and they talk to the city council, like, oh, you see this big number, it's not coming for 10 years. But they also need to think in their mind, and planning and the city definitely need to, 10 years from now, so that number is here of units. And if we're having water issues now, what does that water issue look like if we have a drought in 10 years and we've added, 5,000, 10,000 people to the population? Are we able to even handle it at that point? Or do we get from where we had voluntary water restrictions this time? Next time, is it mandatory water restrictions? Right. Next time, do we actually have shortages? You got to
have a plan through all the scenarios that are possible, because we're stepping into the unknown.
Yeah, we don't know.
And you've got to think, well, this could happen, and you've got to have reactions and hopefully some preventive maintenance for these things that could happen.
Yep. Yeah. So that's
sorry to go off on a tangent there, but
no, that's
okay. Just thinking about this week, I felt like we were going to get some relief from the drought,
right?
And it just really never showed up.
It didn't happen. Now, the good thing for this particular drought that we're dealing with, the rain did come to the west, which is where they were having the more serious issues.
It eases that part.
That'll ease that part of the Duck River. And knock on wood, we got through this one, and we're good for this year. And maybe it'll be 2 or 3 years down the road before we look at this again. But it's inevitable that eventually we'll come to another one. So it's just the way it is. So, but one thing I didn't put on my rundown real quick, I'll mention it because this came up Friday morning at my breakfast, and then there was a post by the sheriff's department last night. There were some online threats this week towards schools. They were vague in that they didn't call out a particular school. I believe one of them called out, what they say? It just said CMS. Well, the number of schools in the state that have the abbreviation CMS is, it's a lot. Even here, we got Central Middle School. You got Cascade.
That's Harris Middle School, but you got Community Middle School and Cascade Middle School.
So even in our district, we've got a couple. So, but just to point out that I heard a lot on the police scanner this week, and what people sometimes don't realize, besides our SROs that are sitting in every school, our city police did a great job this week of doing extra patrols. And particularly, I think on the day that round of threats was first announced, they were in every city school. And I don't know a number, and I didn't hear an official number, but it sounded to me like an officer was hitting every school multiple times every day doing a walkthrough. That's a city police officer or probably a pair of city police officers, in addition to the SRO that was in that school. And I know the sheriff's office, because I spoke to one of them on Friday, they did some additional patrols. So just hats off to our law enforcement for stepping up and doing some extra work there and making sure our kids are safe.
Yeah.
So
the unseen things that we don't know about.
Right.
There's stuff happening like this all the time.
And
our guys are out there putting their They're putting their lives on the line.
They are. And there was a press release if you go on our county sheriff's department, there's a press release they put out. There was actually a statewide press release.
Right, I saw that.
And they did a lot of extra work this week. And they probably didn't say a lot about it early in the week. You don't want to scare parents and kids and stuff, but there was a lot going on behind the scenes, and they did a great job. So, but with that was our weekend wrap up. So before we go into looking up what's happened next week, let's hear from our sponsor one more time.
With the personalized service you deserve at Dennis Young Insurance Agency.
As a local independent agency, we offer coverage from several different companies, including Erie. So whether it's auto, home, life, personal, or business, we can find the right coverage to meet your unique insurance needs. And with a rate lock advantage, your rates won't go up as long as you do not change drivers, autos, or addresses. Contact us at Dennis Young Insurance Agency, insuring Shelbyville and surrounding areas since 1988.
All right, welcome back into the weekend wrap up. We're going to take a look at the week ahead. Josh, what all we got?
Week ahead, we got a few things coming up this week. Actually, starting today. One's already over. I just shout out to the people at the VFW. They had their monthly breakfast. I went and had my breakfast this morning for.
Did you have country ham?
I did not have country ham. I did have sausage and bacon and hash brown casserole and eggs. They gave me biscuit and gravy. They tried to give me pancakes. I'm like, man, I can't eat all this food.
Man, for years they've done this, and they used to do a delivery. I don't know if they still do the delivery, but we couldn't go because we're here at work,
right?
And they would bring us like a stack of them.
Oh, for $10.
I mean, like you got 4 people, and we would share. We would all share it, and they would always
supports our veterans. So
yes,
it's a good thing if you can get to it. It's the second. Where are we at? Second Saturday of the month. Every month, same Saturday. So
man, I always liked the country ham.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
Good stuff. So, staying with the theme, going on very currently, I think it started at 10 o'clock until 2 o'clock. This is moved from the square to TCAT. We're having our first ever Veterans Resource Fair, which they've got, I believe, employers in there looking to hire.
Right.
They've got different resources. I think they're giving free flu shots. They got all this stuff going on. First time trying this. Hopefully it'll be an ongoing thing. And next time they're hoping to have it on the square where it will be outside. They just, because of the rain possibility, they didn't want to get all set up and then get poured on. So, but that's going on at TCAT. It's till 2 o'clock. So if you're watching us live, you still got plenty of time. I'm going to go over there after the show, actually. Tuesday, we have county committee meetings at 5 o'clock at the courthouse. Little point of interest on those, they post the agendas ahead of time, and they didn't have any minutes with any of them this time. I guess, I don't know if we're running behind or whatever. It was kind of the stuff they put online was it was more vague than normal. It usually had a lot more information.
Maybe,
so they weren't quite ready. I guess the horse show and everything threw them off. I don't know what happened, but everything I'm sure will be ready by Tuesday. Thursday, we got the school board meeting at 6 o'clock at the school board headquarters there. A couple things I noticed of interest on the agenda. One that I'd already found on the county site that I'm going to be listening for more information on. They've put out an RFQ for construction manager at risk. And I actually read the packet, and it was, talk about vague. It's like you're signing up to be the construction manager for undefined projects. So I don't know what this job is exactly. I'm assuming this person is somewhere maybe in between Jeff Sweeney and the guy building it. I don't know. Seems like we're adding another layer to our construction manager.
But this is the school board.
This is the school board.
That will be meeting on this.
Yeah, that'll be meeting on this. And then they're also asking for, I don't know if I talked about it before, I found this interesting, and this was on a previous agenda too. They're trying to get them a robot to paint the lines on the athletic fields. So I'd always seen the guy out there with a little push thing.
Oh,
man. But man, now they have these. It's like,
unbelievable.
It's like a Roomba. It's a little thing you set it up with a computer, and it paints the whole football field. And
I think they had a trial run out here at Shelbyville Central, and I was looking at the lines. I was like, man, those things are straight. I'm used to seeing this human error stuff going on.
It should be perfect. So I guess we're looking to buy us a robot to paint the lines. So it seems like a neat idea.
Yeah.
So Friday at us. This is kind of a throwback to earlier in the show, that the courtyard next to Pope's, they're going to have what's called a courtyard celebration from noon to 2. And this is being put on by the Center for Family Development. And they're just going to kind of show off what their ideas are for this space, give us a little more information and whatnot. They've invited the whole community. They're doing all kinds of, if you look at the flyer for it, it's a lot of family-friendly stuff, like balloons and food and all this stuff. So good event, it seems like, Friday at noon if you can get out to it. And then going past this week, I got information that I was asked to bring out that we're having the Bedford Arts Collective Art Show. This is at the Ag Center, and this is starting September 26th. They're having an evening, kind of a showcase, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then the Friday and Saturday, 27th and 28th, from 10 o'clock in the morning to 9 o'clock in the evening. You can go out to the Ag Center and support local artists. They'll have their art on display. I would imagine some of it may or may not be for sale, I would think. So just a good event to help, the local arts community. And I think the thing Thursday night, the 26th, I think there's even maybe some free food or something involved there.
Yeah.
So look for more information online. And we've posted the flyer and stuff that goes with that, but that sounds
Right.
like a good event as well. So, but other than that, there was bound to be 2 or 3 things come out of left field this week. We never know what's going to happen here in the big city, but we'll be looking out for it. We'll
Okay.
post it online when it happens. We'll be back here.
Well, before
same
we
time.
go, Josh,
Before we go.
we would be cutting off way too early right now.
That's true.
Because we're only
Oh,
at 36
Yeah,
minutes. But
we can
I
always
want
talk.
to. I want to. Some questions have come up this
Sure.
past week.
Yeah.
Just people were wanting some updates on some things, and
Okay.
and you might know, and you've heard. If not, you hadn't, and we could say we just don't know. But
Yeah.
one was the Glass Hollow Tavern,
Table and
Tavern had
Yeah.
their grand opening,
They had the ribbon cut.
their ribbon cutting, and
Yes.
their, I guess it was where you could come in and see what
Yeah,
you call
open
it,
house.
open house.
Yeah.
Okay, has there been any updates on when their actual open date is going to
They have
be?
not announced an opening date. There is a Chamber of Commerce event there again this Thursday morning at 8 o'clock, just a breakfast thing. But as far as an opening date, they have not announced. I did see that they were looking to hire a couple more kitchen staff. I mean, everything from the inside looked ready to go for me. Now, I don't know one thing that may be a hold up, and I don't know this for a fact, but I realize it's a tavern as well. Maybe they haven't gotten their liquor license yet. I don't know
Right.
if they have or not. So there may be a few minor things there. But I
Okay,
think
so
they're
so there's
close.
no
Yeah.
updates that we've missed or
Nothing.
anything.
No,
Okay.
nobody's
All right.
posted
One
that
other
yet.
thing, or actually 2 other things that came up in conversations, just people sending messages and so forth.
Yeah.
About a year and a few months ago, maybe 14 or 15 months ago, there was an announcement that a piece of property had been bought
Yep.
north side of town, and we were going to get a Hampton Inn. I think there were actually 2 lots built together, and we talked about it at that time, talked about it since, and it's kind of dropped. And I was wondering if you heard any type of updates on that.
All that has happened with that property, that's the 2 parcels directly behind the Dunkin' Donuts.
Right.
They did at the city level combine those into a single parcel. But the last I've heard, and I go to every planning meeting and meet with planning once a week, nobody at the city, as far as I know, has seen the first site plan or any kind of paperwork proposing an actual building or how they're going to do drainage and whatnot. And the conversations I have heard about it, 2 issues with that particular parcel. One, if you look at the parcel, it sits very low. It's
Right.
it's going to be a major drainage issue. And then the other thing I heard unofficially second is that where it is located, they were proposing an 81-room hotel. 81-room hotel requires a certain amount of water pressure and sewer coverage. And sewer, I didn't hear was an issue, but water in particular, I don't believe the water main that goes to that location was big enough. So it was going to require some water infrastructure upgrades.
Okay, so lots more work to do
So a
before
lot
we hear.
to go
from-
on, and,
okay.
and yeah, nothing that I've heard of has moved, other than they did combine the 2 parcels as
Okay.
a single piece of land, but nothing's moved. But
Okay,
that's
and
there.
3 months
Yeah.
ago, Josh,
Yeah.
we had massive conversation, and then 2 months ago, it came to a situation to where our fire chief brought up some points about our acid factory.
Yes.
Has there been any movement on that? Has the state done it? Have you heard anything on that?
Total radio silence on the acid factory. Nobody's talking. Nobody's talking off the record. Nobody's talking on the record. As far as I know, we've not got the official report back from the state. I would expect somebody would have shared that with us if that had happened. If they did get it back and they haven't shared it, then they're just keeping it quiet. It's possible. I mean, I'll throw this out there. We're in election season. You can kind of feel like both the city and the county are not doing a whole lot. Some of this stuff may just kind of go on the back burner until we get past, particularly some of the controversial stuff, might not to say that's the case. I mean, they may be moving behind
Right.
the scenes. They just don't want
Sure.
to tell anybody.
Right.
But that's another possibility. You got to realize that we are, what are we, 4 weeks away from early voting, pretty much.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
some of that stuff that's more.
So no
controversial
jobs. The place can't open yet. They
Nothing.
can't start
There's
doing
been
their
zero
thing.
announcements.
Okay.
So now they could come out this week and
Right.
announce they passed state inspection. They're going to open next Saturday, but so far not a peep from
All right.
anybody.
Well,
So
those three things just come up in conversation this week.
I hear those questions a lot.
Oh,
too.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And
All right, well.
yeah. Same about the racetrack on the north side of town. Nobody knows a whole lot about that either. The old
Well,
Tennessee Downs. So
I don't think they're building anything yet.
I've heard nothing. So I get asked all the time, though, is anything going on? I said, I've seen them take hay off the property, but that's about
okay.
it. So,
All right.
yeah.
Well, if
So-
we hear something,
if we hear something,
we'll
put it
let
out
people
there.
know.
We
All right.
don't. Yeah, we're anything we hear, we put out there as quick as we can because I think that's what we're all about here is transparency and getting.
I mean,
information
there's a
out to
process
people,
for things to actually take place.
Yeah,
One, it's a concept and an idea,
yeah,
and then there's a first step where maybe you buy property
right.
and you got to get investors, or you got to do this, you got to jump through hoops. There's so many processes of getting something done. A lot of these things start off, and I mean, if you're not persistent and stay on top of it, and you're not a bulldog, it's hard to get stuff done.
Yeah.
So that's the process that all three of these are going through. And you
Right.
know, the acid factory is farther along than any of these others that were
It's built.
mentioned.
It's
It's
sitting
built.
there.
It's sitting there. It's
Yeah.
waiting. So
Yeah.
we'll see how things play out, Josh.
Yep, we will. And we'll be right back here next week. Same time, same channel, same place, and talk about the news that matters here in Shelbyville and Bedford County. So.
All righty. See you next